Sources say it's likely that rookie running back Omarion Hampton will be back for Monday Night Football against the Eagles, which is great news, especially considering the uncertainty around Justin Herbert.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegemeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you to all the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
After the Chargers opened up Omarion Hampton's practice window last week and got him ramped up, it seems like now it is time for Omarion Hampton to make his return and play, as reports are that he is going to be back on Monday Night Football. And obviously, the injury to Justin Herbert is on the minds of all Charger fans. And is he going to play? Should the Chargers keep him out of this game? That's a big question. And Tre Harris, a guy who has done all of the things the Chargers have asked him to do, is his breakout game coming? I think it absolutely is.
Yeah, obviously Trey Harris has played great. Unfortunately, he's like 5th on the totem pole of targets right now. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. David, it is Buy or Sell Tuesday, getting into the biggest Charger storylines, overreactions on a Wednesday because I was sick yesterday. So thank you guys for your patience, but we're not going to skip this Buy or Sell show. But we have to start with the news that Omarion Hampton is likely going to play on Monday night. This is per CBS Sports' Matt Zenitz, who says it's currently viewed as likely that the Chargers starting running back Omarion Hampton, who has missed the last 7 games with an ankle injury, will be able to return to action and play next Monday when the team faces the Eagles, sources tell CBS Sports. That's awesome. I mean, this is really the only kind of news that we've gotten in any kind of good direction for Omarion Hampton since he's been out. We did hear from Jim Harbaugh once upon a time that it would be after the bye week. He did not play in the game immediately after the bye week last week against the Raiders. But David, it looks like he should be back for this very, very important matchup on Monday night.
Yes, and this is going to be one of the first times since probably week 1, if Justin Herbert is out there, that he should have his full complement of weapons available to him with Keenan and Ladd and QJ and the emergence of Rondé Gadsden II, Trey Harris, Kimani Vidal, and now add the dynamic Omarion Hampton to the mix, a guy that we know was just getting started, was really kind of being explosive out of the backfield and being an option as a safety valve in the passing game as well. It's very exciting to be able to get him back for a very important stretch where you're going to be playing some very, very good offenses, some very good defenses, and just being able to dictate what you want to do with a running back that runs violently, that runs angry, that makes you have to fight him to get him on the grounds and is always looking to get those extra few yards. That's going to be a weapon for you down the stretch.
Yeah, and I know some were kind of speculating that the Chargers signing running back Royce Freeman to their practice squad was a bad omen for Omarion Hampton's availability on Monday night. But I think it's fair to say at this point that unless like there's a setback or, just obvious progression in his injury and, from now until Monday, that he's going to be out there. And I'm really excited to see what that 1-2 punch is going to look like. And he doesn't have all his weapons, David, because Najee Harris is obviously out for the season.
Yeah.
But now with what Kimani Vidal has been able to do, it feels like you have that, right? Like you have a legitimate 1-2 punch again, and a time that you're really going to need it. Like I think it's going to be so crucial in December, especially with potentially an injured Justin Herbert, to be able to play December type of football, and that is being able to lean on their running game, and having Omarion Hampton really helps that. So I'm excited because Kimani Vidal had gone over 100 scrimmage yards in 4 of the 7 games that Omarion Hampton has missed, and Omarion Hampton had 120 plus in the 2 games prior to his injury. So both these guys were putting up big numbers separately. Now we'll get to see them together more than likely but it is buy or sell Wednesday. So let's get to this from John Clark, who says buy or sell that it is Vidal for the Chargers to run the ball well and win games for this team, even after Omarion returns. Translation, Kimani will get the bulk of the carries before the playoffs. David, are you buying or selling that?
I think that they're going to play it by ear. I think that they're going to go with the game flow. They're going to go with the hot hand. I think that I absolutely believe that Kimani Vidal will start out getting probably more carries as they ease Omarion back into things, as they make sure that he's 100% after he takes a few hits, feels that confidence that he's going to be able to, come back from that, get back into it, and continue getting into that rhythm. But Omarion Hampton is that bell cow back. He is built that way, but also Kimani Vidal has earned his touches. I think that they need to continue to give him, those opportunities to show what he is capable of doing, because he's made the most of those. I think that you find that mixture, but you absolutely ride the hot hand at the end of the day.
Well, and that's been the thing about Kimani Vidal, and obviously some games you just don't ever get a chance. Like against the Jaguars, he got like 5 carries. Like there was only ever so much he could do. But
yeah,
it has very much been a ping pong ball for him, right? It's over 100 yards and it's 30 yards, over 100 yards and it's 20 yards. Now you have an alternate option, right? If it's not there for Kimani for whatever reason, a matchup, a bad day, whatever the case may be, you have an alternate, right? And you have someone who's a first-round pick who was super impressive before he left, and we've talked about it before. I mean, 22 missed tackles forced and only 66 carries in 2025. That's 1 every 3 carries he's breaking a tackle. So it took him a little bit, right? It wasn't really till week 3 or 4 where he really started getting going. Omarion Hampton didn't break out until that Giants game. At the same time, now he knows kind of what to expect. He's seen the speed at this level. It'll be interesting to see, if he's on a pitch count or anything like that going into it.
And he should be fresh, right? Doesn't have all the hits on his body.
Well, yeah, and I've talked about that before. Just, obviously the accumulation of hits of taking 7 games with less hits than he would have is big. But he is coming back from a physical injury, right? He is coming back from a fractured ankle. And, I think we've seen with other guys before, like sometimes it takes a second before you can really trust that ankle to go and plant super hard and cut super hard to go, juke somebody or whatever the case may be. So we'll see what it looks like, but you have to think that part of it is part of the reason why he hasn't played yet, right? Why he practiced all week last week but didn't play. Now maybe ramping up more to, more of a game action type field this week. But Kimani Vidal, especially in pass protection, which is super important, and he was awesome in that regard last week, isn't going anywhere. But it is just in time, David, because the Chargers have a big time matchup coming up this weekend or this week against the Eagles on Monday Night Football, and they might have shown a fatal flaw last week against the Bears.
Daniel, David, I feel buy or sell Tuesday an overreaction. The Eagles' run defense got exposed on Friday against Chicago, and it will get exposed again on Monday against the Chargers. I'm buying it. What are your thoughts? Thank you. Love you.
This is obviously going to be one of the big storylines as we lead up to things here on Monday Night Football with crossover Thursday tomorrow. Obviously, the keys for success, which will drop on Monday. But yeah, like it isn't even just an Eagles-specific thing, but the Eagles gave up 281 rushing yards and had 2 running backs that went for 120-plus against them.
It's crazy.
That absolutely, yeah. Like you're hoping you can imitate some of that or at least have, even 75% of that rushing success on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, the 2 things that happened on Sunday that were very similar is both the Chargers and the other team that played, the Chicago Bears, ran the ball 40 plus times against their opponent. That's what they had in common, and that's because if you're having that much success, you're going to pretty much beat anybody. You're going to dominate the time of possession. You're going to limit their possession, so it's going to make it extremely important for them to score on every possession that they get because they're going to limit the amount of touches that they get. If the Chargers are able to do that again against the Eagles, they're going to win this game too.
Absolutely, and I think the big thing there is just like game flow has a lot to do with it, right? You don't get to run the ball 40 times if you're playing from behind. It's just basically impossible, right? And this is also an Eagles team that held the Lions to just 74 yards, and they averaged the 4th most rushing yards per game. So game flow is a big part of that. We know the Chargers starting fast is a huge part of their success in general, and it will be. And you know the Eagles are going to be doing everything they can to fix it and have a couple of really good corners in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean that they can trust out there if they need to kind of commit more resources to the box. So the Bears are also the second best rushing team in the NFL. The Chargers are 12th. So it's not apples to apples in that regard. But yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to say the blueprint would be anything else, especially considering the uncertainty of Justin Herbert. But the next question is, should the Chargers be sitting Justin Herbert out for his own safety and take the decision out of his hands? We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something that you wrap. It's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Perfect grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos. For me, this is super simple. I mean, both of my parents were getting Aura Frames for Christmas. I mean, especially when you have a cute baby like I do. Load that thing up with as many pictures and videos and even live photos from iPhone on there. That's something that no grandparent is ever going to be upset about, especially during the holidays. The Aura Frames are the way to go, and the packaging comes gift ready. No price tag, no wrapping needed. For a limited time, save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's AURAFrames.com, promo code LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to our listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, David, we have more buy or sells to get into. And of course, I mean, what's going to be hanging over this entire week is the availability of star quarterback Justin Herbert. Because, I mean, even as they showed you in their last game, like, they would rather have a one-handed Justin Herbert out there than Trey Lance for obvious reasons. Like, Justin Herbert is awesome, top 10 worst quarterback in the NFL. But we know how tough he is. We know if it's left up to him, he's going to try to play. And I think that's where this buy or sell comes from GC1314, who says, buy or sell, the Chargers need to save Herbert and sit him out this week against the Eagles. David, buy or sell?
I'm going to sell it. I mean, Justin Herbert has shown repeatedly throughout his career that he is extremely tough, tougher than most people on earth. He's played with fractured rib cartilage. He's played with 2 bum ankles. He's played with broken fingers on that same non-throwing hand that he broke his hand recently. So he knows what that feels like. He knows what his pain tolerance is. And at the end of the day, Justin Herbert is your best option at quarterback. If he feels good enough to go, yeah, you're going to have to make some adjustments to the game plan schematically. Probably you're going to see some more pistol. You're going to see some more shotgun for sure. But you know, they're going to have Justin Herbert out there. And I think that's the best way to be able to win these games. And right now, your margin for error, your amount of losses that you can accumulate are very, very little. So these next several games are going to be crucially important. Your best chance to get a W is with number 10 under center.
Yeah, I mean, even the version that we saw last week is probably the best version, but I do think it does have something to do with like what his limitations are and how likely he is to re-injure it if he plays on it this week. And I think that'll ultimately be like what the conversation comes down to and what decides if he's going to play in this game. If he can take snaps under center confidently and has moderate comfort, I don't think there's a chance he misses this game. I mean, you're right. With 5 games left to go, if he can play, you have to have him out there. Like, now, like if you told me, hey, if he sits out 1 week, he'll be basically, you know, back to pretty much normal the next week. But if he keeps playing on it, he's going to be limited all season. That's a different conversation. But I think that part is just kind of impossible to know. Like, I do think that, you know, is this something where he's not going to be able to take snaps under center all season? Is having the hand stabilized going to be able to let him do that? It's hard to say, right? Like, I think you still saw, though, like on a few throws after it happened, including the one to Ladd in the end zone, a couple to Keenan Allen, that Justin Herbert, like I said, with one hand, there's a reason he's still out there, right? Because he has the golden arm that can still make all the throws, but it does change what you do offensively. I think with Trey Lance, though, obviously the whole kind of game plan has to change, and the game really changes. But let's get to this one from Gavin Benitez, who says, buy or sell if Trey Lance starts Monday versus Philly. The run game has to be much more relied on for victory. And I think, obviously, we talked about it with Athir. You're going to have to run the ball a lot and successfully to have a good chance to win this game. But I'm buying this one because I do think we've talked about it before with Greg Roman loving his dual threat quarterbacks, right? From Colin Kaepernick to Lamar Jackson to now him with Trey Lance, fully lean into it. Like if that's the case, like my buy or sell would be buy or sell that Trey Lance should have at least 10 plus carries in this game if he's the starter, David. And I think that would be the game plan if I was coaching it out.
Yeah, that's the easiest buy of the day for me. It's very crystal clear. You have to put your players in the best positions to utilize what they do the best to give you the best possible outcome. That's just how it has to be. And every coach should be doing that. You have to tailor their offense to be able to get the most out of your players. What Trey Lance does the best is run with the football. He is very elusive. He is very fast. He is a legitimate weapon in that area. So yeah, you got to incorporate those QB runs and those design runs into the game plan because he's dangerous, and that's how you can move the football. Just because your starting quarterback isn't out there doesn't mean that you don't have a chance to win. You just have to be a lot more precise, a lot more accurate with what you're trying to do, and the margin for error is a lot less because if you get behind, it's going to be a lot more difficult to try to throw yourself back into it because you're just not dealing with the same level of arm talent. So you got to use what Trey Lance does best, and that's with him toting the rock.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't start, right, like if the Chargers have to run a quarterback sneak, Jim Harbaugh said it this week, like they could have gone with Trey Lance. They could have gone with Tyler Conklin. I'd much rather it be Trey Lance than an actual,
maybe a little wildcat
doing that. I mean, no, I'm talking about specifically for quarterback sneaks.
Oh,
right?
sure,
I'm
yeah.
not having running back
definitely.
do that, but yeah, like if you get into a 4th and 1 situation like you did in this last game, as opposed to a shotgun handoff, which just got dropped in the backfield.
Yeah.
Put him in there for a sneak if you want to do that. And even if you don't want to do that, right? If he goes on the field, every single person on that field is going to think he's sneaking the ball. So
sure,
that in itself is an advantageous position because then you can actually build something off of that. Maybe, you go counter, you do a little pitch out, something along those lines to keep them off balance. But I think if Trey Lance starts, it's about keeping them off balance. And one thing he brings to the table is the legitimate threat to keep that ball on read options, right? To spread the defense out in that way and keep them a little bit more honest, which should actually open more things up in the running game for the Chargers, having a quarterback that legitimately could get those designed quarterback runs. And I'm not saying it has to be 10 plus designed quarterback runs, but he should be carrying the ball, scrambling, or on a designed run at least 10 plus times if that's the game plan. If it's him out there, lean into it, keep the defense off balance. The more he runs, the more it sets up their own play action and things like that to try to keep things interesting and,
because you still got to throw it eventually, right? You're still going to have to toss the rock, even if Trey Lance is behind center. Yeah, you want to incorporate it, but if you want it to be dangerous and deceptive, he's going to have to be able to throw off of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like, if you can actually show them you have to run and you make them have to respect it first, then that sucks the linebackers up closer to the line of scrimmage. That means guys are biting much harder, safeties on the running game and the play action. So that's all part of it and all built into it. And we know Greg Roman has been able to build a game plan around that. I think the hard thing this week is which quarterback is he centering his game plan around right now, because it kind of has to be both unless they know something we don't. But let's get to this one here from Brennan really quick. Buy or sell. Justin and Omarion don't play. It becomes defense game more than an offense game against the Eagles. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the defense absolutely would have to ball out and show up in that situation, create some turnovers, and really smother the Eagles' offense. That definitely would have to happen. They would have to, show up and really ball out from that perspective. But, the other teams have shown, the Chicago Bears just showed you that if you run the ball with authority, then, you can get some things done on the ground. But, you're going to have to center that game plan around being able to run it and being able to throw the play action off of it, because you still have to incorporate those passing weapons that you have at your disposal.
I think this is right from the standpoint of like the Eagles defense is much better than their offense is this year. So like you're probably not going to win this game, 35-34. Like it probably will be kind of a street fight type of a game, at least looking at it right now based on what these teams have been able to do. So like Yeah, I think the Chargers have 4 top 10 defenses left on their schedule this year in 5 games. Like that is what it is. The defense is going to have to go win them some games, and it's going to be what has to keep them very competitive on Monday Night Football, especially even with potentially banged up Justin Herbert. Could be a limited offense, at least going up, some monsters on the interior in Philadelphia. So they have their work cut out for them. But yeah, I think that the defense, especially if you're missing your, number one running back and your star quarterback, yeah, you'd have to turn it into a defensive slugfest. Run the ball 40 times if you can. Keep it to, a 17-14 type of score. It could have to be that way. But we still have more to get into, including if rookie Tre Harris could have his breakout coming soon. We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, though, I need to tell you guys that NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as the guys heat up. And the odds are out for the upcoming game against the Eagles. And the Chargers are currently 3-point underdogs at home on Monday Night Football. Probably has a lot to do with Justin Herbert potentially playing or not playing, so I would keep an eye on that line. But either way, this is a chance for the Chargers, who are undefeated in prime time, to have a chance to pull off the upset in a big way and become so much closer to making the playoffs. So if you want to be right in the middle of this action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. David, we still have some more buy or sells to get into, so thank you again to the everydayers out there for contributing to today's show and helping us be the #1 sports podcast network out there. But a lot to get to still, and I think this is a really good one for an unheralded player that I think we brought up a lot, but at the same time hasn't gotten the shine that maybe some other star rookies have. And this is from Sutton Caffey, who says, buy or sell, Tre Harris is going to break out before the season is over. David, we are big Tre Harris fans over here, but a pretty modest stat line so far this season. Are you buying or selling this?
I'm buying it. I truly feel like his breakout game is coming. The Chargers have 5 games left in the season, and unfortunately, there is probably going to be some injuries that they're going to have to work through. It's just inevitable in the game of football. I'm not saying I want to see any or expect to see any. I just have watched this game and covered this game for a very long time. So just because he hasn't been given those opportunities to be featured in the passing game doesn't mean that his opportunities are still not out there for him to go grab, because whatever the Chargers have asked Tre Harris to do, he has excelled at it. Whether it's run blocking, he's done it at a premium level. If it's getting open on third downs and being trusted to be able to pick it up in a myriad of different ways, whether it's bullet passes or him having to go up and get it or him having to get little shovel passes, however they've given him the football, he's been making the most of those opportunities. That's only gathering more trust between him and the coaching staff and his teammates and his quarterback, and it's only a matter of time before he gets more and more of those chances that he has proven to be able to make the most of.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, for me, depends on what you expect a breakout game to be, right? Is a breakout game 6 catches for 85 yards? Is a breakout game over 100 yards, right? I don't know if he'll have an 100-yard game this season, and that's mostly just because of where he is in the pecking order, because I think the thing that gets kind of forgotten in this is he might be their 4th most targeted receiver, but he's really 5th as far as, the options that Justin Herbert has behind Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, right? And then obviously you have to throw in there Quentin Johnston and Oronde Gadsden.
Yeah.
All of those guys have, proven their targets, and I think I would like to see him more involved. You're seeing him more on the field. You see him doing the dirty work, and he, brings something to the table. But so far, they've mostly just been using him as a yak guy. It's mostly been slants. It's been little screen passes and stuff like that. That's why he's only averaging 8.8 yards per catch. I'd like to see them target him a little bit more down the field, more on the intermediate, routes. Get him something. Give him a chance down the field to go make a play, because it feels like when the ball is kind of in his direction, he's making a play on the football, and that it can't be said about everyone, right? Like, guys obviously have their strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
That's not what Keenan Allen's strength is at this point. That's never been what Quentin Johnston's strength is, jump balls or just 50-50 opportunities down the field. So I'd like to see his opportunities change
more
a
of
little bit.
More of that.
But like at the same time, like he's only, out of the 11 games, he's only been targeted 4 times or more twice. 5 is the most targets he's had all year. So I just think it's like even the last game, right? Like all of them contributed. Ladd contributed, and he was the lead receiver with 4 catches and 38 yards. But then you have Keenan with 4 catches for 30, right? And then Quentin 3 for 27. Rondé Gatson, a big 20-plus yarder. Now, the other part of this is we expect them to run the football a lot. When they run the ball like they did last week, Justin Herbert only threw it 20 times. Trey Lance only threw it once, right? There's only 21 passing attempts. If you're only throwing it 21 times, it's going to be very, very hard for guys to have big-time breakout performances. So I think, 19 catches, 167 yards, 1 touchdown. You're probably going to get to around 30, 35 catches this season. I don't think that's anything to feel bad about as a rookie, but I think you can see the more important thing is how much Greg Roman trusts him and how invested he is in every part of the offense, whether he's getting the ball or not. So, I think that just bodes well for his future, and obviously he's going to have a much bigger role in years to come. But I think it's pretty nice to be as impressed with him as we already are in his first year. So
very happy.
Let's get this in from Omar Aguilar, who says, buy or sell, Mekhi Becton will not be on our team next year. David, this was the prize free agent acquisition. Will he make it into the second year of his 2-year contract?
I'm going to say no. I think just given everything that we've seen, with his play and his inconsistency when he's been on the field and his availability issues where he has really, I think, only finished a couple of games this season, I don't know how you can feel good about bringing him back, even at the number that he's at, which is not unreasonable. Like, it's not a big contract by any means, but you need somebody that you can trust to be on the field. And unfortunately, so far this season, that's just hasn't been the case with Mekhi Becton. And even when he has been, you haven't had that top tier, high quality play that we saw with him last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. So with that being said, it definitely looks to be a one and done situation for Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, and that's what his kind of contract was always set up to be, right? Pretty much all the guaranteed money in his first, his first year of the deal. Only about 40% of it actually is guaranteed. I think it was like $5 or $6 million out of the $20 million deal that he got is actually guaranteed. So it was always kind of a prove it deal. But yeah, I mean, from going through his stats, 4 of his 10 starts, he hasn't been able to play the full game. So that means 6 of the 10 he has. Almost half. That's almost 50-50, right? That he's coming out of the game for at least a decent portion of it, right? Also, he's missed 2 games. So that's 6 of the 12 games at this point that he's, either missed or had to come out of. And one of them, according to him, he got no explanation for. But I think that probably is the more concerning part of it here, and maybe the reason he's most likely to not be in the lineup next year. Because, I mean, at least as a pass protector, he's easily been their best option there. I mean, he's allowed 2 or less pressures in 8 of the 10 games so far that he's played in so far this season. Obviously, some of those games he doesn't have the full complement of snaps to be able to allow more. He's had 2 games where he's allowed 5 or more. So for the most part, he's been pretty solid, and a couple of games have gone away from him. But as we've seen, whoever his backup has been has really, really struggled even more than he has. I think the hard thing is he hasn't been as dominant of a run blocker, and we haven't got to see him in tandem with Joe Alt, which was always kind of the plan. So the biggest thing as far as off the field, him basically kind of calling out him getting pulled from the last game against Jacksonville Jaguars, where per Chris Rim's story, he said things are different around here because he was pulled without explanation from the game and very frustrating for him. So kind of called out. He said basically you have to ask the front office or the coaching staff as to why I was pulled from that game. We know that Jim Harbaugh has always been complimentary, has been asked about Bradley Bozeman 700 times in press conferences this season, and has always found a positive thing to say. But leading up to the Raiders game, when asked about Mekhi Becton's play specifically, he basically said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get into single players and how they play, which is like basically the only time he's ever said that. So
yeah,
that spoke volumes. he's obviously speaking out. It's the first kind of dissidence we've seen from anyone inside a Jim Harbaugh locker room as coach of the Chargers. We'll get a little more into that on Friday. But let's get this last one here quickly, David. It's from Bellicose saying, buy or sell. After that dominant win, we are still true contenders with Salyer at left tackle and our defense playing lights out. You buying or selling that?
I'm going to sell it. I mean, you just beat a 2-win Raiders team that you absolutely should have beat the brakes off of. Like, that's just something where it's expected and you did what was expected. So it's definitely good to get the good feelings back, to get get back in the win column, to get that physicality of play back, all of the feels. Those are all really good things that you now need to take into a much more difficult opponent in the Philadelphia Eagles and prove that that win actually means that you are on a positive trajectory and that you are continuing to head towards the playoffs, or it really just didn't mean anything. So you did what you had to do, did what you were supposed to do. The momentum is real, and let's see if they can continue that momentum as the games get a lot more difficult.
Well, it's funny, too, because as much as we've talked about the Chargers kind of winning bigger games, obviously they beat the Chiefs this year, which is awesome. They beat the Broncos. They're still 1-2 against playoff teams so far this year, teams that are currently slotted to be in the playoffs, right? Beating the Broncos and losing to the Jaguars and the Colts. Yeah, they're still undefeated against Bo Nix so far. If they can do the last one, that would be incredible.
That'd be great.
Especially because the Broncos haven't lost since they played the Chargers. Oh, wait, maybe one more. Yeah, no, I think since they played the Chargers. Yeah, so either way, I think with this, I have to sell that they're true contenders. Like we've talked about, you said it. They beat a 2-win Raiders team. That's really, really bad that they should handle. But I do think, there is something about Jamaree Salyer being at left tackle. Like, I do think that raises their ceiling. Because honestly, like, I think what it does is it doesn't make them contenders, but it makes them like a true legitimate contender to make the playoffs, which might not have been the case. If they didn't stabilize that pass protection on the left side, like, there's a realistic chance they went 0-5 or 1-4 down the stretch. Their schedule is brutally tough. They had to figure something out there. Per Chris Rim, he was tied for first amongst tackles in week 13 with 100% pass block win rate. PFF had him allowing 2 pressures into sack. Either way, he was a huge upgrade. No matter, you watch it, you can tell. Like, he's very comfortable in pass protection. I think he graded 43rd per Chris Rim in run blocking out of guards, but it's like, I'll take a little below average run blocking for someone who's pass protecting at a way higher level and protecting Justin Herbert so much better than who was in there before that. But let's be honest, like, the defense still has to prove it against a good offense too. You have 2 top 10 offenses left on the schedule with Dallas and Kansas City coming up. The offense will also have to show that it can do it against good defenses because they have 4 top 10 defenses coming up, and the 5th one is Dallas, who allowed 30.8 points per game over their first 9 games and 21.7 points over their last 3. So since adding Quentin Williams, they've been a different defense. All stacked teams for the Chargers from here on out, all teams that are going to be competing for playoff spots and desperate for the wins just as much as they are. So a lot they have to do, but getting Jamaree Salyer in there at left tackle gives them a good chance. But that's going to wrap things up for today's show. Thank you guys for your patience as we're a day late on this one. But tomorrow, as always, will be crossover Thursday, Locked On Chargers, Locked On Eagles. To make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from, as well as finding the show every day on all of our social media at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page, where you can hit us up for all of these fan contribution shows, as well as calling into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924. Mike in Missouri, I love you. We just need 30-second Chargers voicemails. It has to be 30 seconds or less, or we can't get it on the show. But we will be back to you guys tomorrow with crossover Thursday. A lot to get into, including the biggest story for this team right now. Is Justin Herbert going to play on Monday? We're going to get into that, but thank you guys again. We're back with you tomorrow. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.